morning students, and this is Dr. T. Ramesh, Assistant Professor, Marine Microbiology, Department of CS in Marine Biology. And today we are going to discuss about the topic about soil microorganisms and what are the factors affecting distribution, activity and population of soil microorganisms, which means soil contains more number of microorganisms, okay, which are affected by some factors, okay, and growth, activities, all are affected by some factors. So, what are the factors we will discuss? Soil microorganisms, that means flora and fauna, just like higher plants, depends entirely on soil for their nutrition, growth and activity. So, the major soil factors which influence the microbial population distribution and their activity in soil are soil fertility, cultural practices, soil moisture, soil temperature, soil aeration, light, pH, organic matter, food and energy supply, nature of soil and microbial associations. So, these are the factors which affect the soil microbes, and we will discuss one by one. So, all these factors which are play a great role in determining not only the number and type of organisms, but also their activities. So, variations in any one or more of these factors may lead to the changes in the activity of organisms, which ultimately affect the soil fertility level. That means either single factor or multiple factors which may affect the soil fertility, especially microbial growth and activities. So, the first factor is cultural practices. Cultural practices means how the crops are cultivated, what are the steps are involved in, like so cultivation, crop rotation, application of manures and fertilizers, liming and gypsum application, pesticide or fungicide and weedicide application. So, they have their effect on soil organisms. So, ploughing and tillage operations also facilitate aeration in soil and exposure of soil to sunshine, and thereby increases the biological activity of organisms, particularly of bacteria. Crop rotation with legume, which maintains the favorable microbial population balance, particularly of nitrogen fixing bacteria, and thereby improve their soil fertility. So, these are the cultural practices which may affect either directly or indirectly soil microbial activity. And other reason also, so liming of acid soil increases the activity of bacteria and actinomycetes and lowers the fungal population. Fertilizers and manures applied to the soil for increased crop production supply food and nutrition not only to the crops, but also to the microorganisms in soil, and thereby proliferate the activity of microorganisms. So, foliar or soil application of different chemicals which are pesticides, fungicides, nematicides, or in agriculture are either degraded by soil microorganisms or are liable to leave toxic residues in soil, which are hazardous to cause profound reduction in normal microbial activity in soil. Then another factor is soil fertility. That means fertility level of soil has a great influence on microbial population and their activity. So, fertility means how it is potential, that means it contains more number of nutritional components in the soil which determine the fertility of the soil. So, the availability of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium required for plants as well as microbes in soil determines the fertility level of soil. On the other hand, soil microflora has greater influence on soil fertility level. And the next factor is soil moisture. Moisture, one of the important factor which influences the microbial population and their activity in soil. So, water is the useful or a component to the microorganism in two ways, that is, it serves as a source of nutrients and supplies hydrogen or oxygen to the organisms, and it serves as a solvent and carrier of other food nutrients to the microorganisms. So, microbial activity and population proliferate best in the moisture range of 20 to 60%. So, in this range microbial activity is very good in condition in soil. Under excess moisture condition or waterlogged conditions, due to lack of soil aeration, anaerobic microbial flora become active and aerobic bacteria gets suppressed. While in the absence of adequate moisture in soil, some of microorganisms die out due to tissue dehydration, and some of them change their forms to resting stages of spores or cysts and tide over adverse conditions. Therefore, optimum soil moisture range is 20 to 60% must be there for better population and activity of microorganisms. The next factor is soil temperature. So, temperature is one of the important factor which influence the biological, physical and chemical process of microbes, microbial activity and population in soil. So, the microorganisms can tolerate extreme temperatures such as minus 60 degrees Celsius or 60 degrees plus 60 degrees Celsius conditions, but the optimum temperature range at which soil microbes can grow and function actively is rather narrow. So, based on the temperature requirements, microbes are classified into several types, especially three, that is psychrophils, mesophils and thermophils. So, psychrophils are nothing but the organisms which are growing at low temperature below 10 degrees Celsius. Mesophils are the organisms which are growing in the temperature range of 20 to 45 degrees Celsius, and thermophils are will grow in the range of above 45 degrees Celsius and in the optimum range of 45 to 60 degree Celsius. So, most of the psychrophils are soil microorganisms are mesophilic, because it is the optimum condition for the growth of crop production. Okay, so the optimum temperature for mesophilic organisms are 37 degrees Celsius. Then true psychrophils are almost absent in soil, and thermophils, though present in soil, behaves like mesophils. True thermophils are most abundant in decaying manure and compost heaps where high temperature prevails. And there are some seasonal changes will affect the soil temperature and also affect the microbial population and their activity, especially in temperate regions. So, in winter when the temperature is low, that is below 50 degrees Celsius, the number and activity of microorganisms falls down, and the soils warms up. In spring they increases in number as well as activity. In general, population and activities of soil microorganisms are highest in spring and lowest in winter season. And next one is soil air or aeration. So, aeration is one of the important factor in soil because most of the organisms are aerobic in soil, because oxygen requirement is needed for the growth of organisms in soil. Microbes consume oxygen from soil air and gives out carbon dioxide. So, activity of soil microbes is often measured in terms of amount of oxygen absorbed or amount of carbon dioxide evolved the organisms in the soil environment. So, under high soil moisture level or waterlogged conditions, gaseous changes is hindered and the accumulation of CO4 occurs in soil air, which is toxic to microbes. So, depending upon oxygen requirements, soil microorganisms are grouped into categories aerobic, anaerobic and microaerophilic based on the level of oxygen. The next factor is light. So, direct sunlight is highly injurious to most of the microorganisms except algae. So, therefore, upon upper portion of the surface soil is a centimeter or less is usually sterile or devoid of microorganisms. Effect of sunlight is due to heating and increases the temperature, which kills the surface microorganisms. So, there won't be any microorganisms in the surface level. Then soil reactions or pH. So, soil reaction has a definite influence effect on quantitative and qualitative composite of and soil microbes. So, most of the soil bacteria, blue green algae, diatoms and protozoa prefer a neutral or slightly alkaline reaction between pH range of 4.5 to 8, and fungi grow in acidic range pH 4.5 and 6.5, and while actinomycetes prefer slightly alkaline soil reactions. So, depending upon the soil reaction, the nature of organisms are present. So, soil reactions also influence the type of bacteria present in soil. Example, nitrifying bacteria and that is especially example nitrosomonas and nitrofactor, and diazotrophs like acetobacter are absent totally or inactive in acidic soil. Diacetylotrophs like Bujeringia, Derxia and sulfur oxidizing bacteria like Thiobacillus thioxidans are active in acidic soil. Then soil organic matter. So, organic matter is nothing but the nutrients which are present in the soil. So, organic matter in soil being the chief source of energy and food for most of the soil organisms. Soil organisms has great influence on microbial populations. Organic matter influence directly or indirectly on the population and activity of soil microorganism. It influences the structure and the texture of soil and thereby activity of microorganisms. Then food and energy supply. Almost all microorganisms obtain their food and energy from the plant residues or organic matter are the substances which are added to the soil. So, energy is required for the metabolic activities of microorganisms which are obtained by the nutrients which are present in the soil. So, there are two types of organisms, especially based on the nutritional requirement. If the organisms which are utilizing organic compounds are called as heterotrophs, which utilize the energy liberated during the oxidation of complex organic compounds in soil, while autotrophs meet their energy requirement from oxidation of simple inorganic compounds or from solar radiation. They are called as photoautotrophs. The source of food and energy rich material is essential for the microbial activity in soil. So, the organic matter therefore serves as both as a source of food nutrient as well as energy required by the soil organisms. The another one is nature of soil. So, the physical factor of physical, chemical and physico-chemical nature of soil and its nutrient status, which influences the microbial population both quantitatively and qualitatively. So, the chemical nature of soil has considerable effect on microbial population in soil. The soil in good physical condition have better aeration and moisture content, which is essential for optimum microbial activity. Similarly, nutrients especially macro and micronutrients and organic constituents of humus are responsible for absence or presence of certain type of microorganism and their activity. For example, activity and the presence of nitrogen fixing bacteria is greatly influenced by the availability of molybdenum, and the absence of available phosphate restricts the growth of Acetobacter. Then microbial association or interaction, that means how do the microbes are interacted with the other hosts, especially soil and other plants. So, microbes interacts with each other, giving rise to antagonistic or symbiotic reactions. Antagonistic or symbiotic interaction means either against or mutually beneficial type of reactions. So, the association existing between one organism and another, whether symbiotic or antagonistic, influences the microbial population and activity to a great extent. So, the predatory habit of protozoa and some mycobacteria which feed on bacteria may suppress or eliminate certain bacteria. On the other hand, the activities of some microorganisms are beneficial to each other. So, for instance, organic acids liberated by fungi increases in oxygen, and the activity of algae change in soil reaction etc., which favors the activity of bacteria and other organisms in soil. So, likewise most of the factors are either physical chemical factors, and the last one is root exudates, that means the products which are excreted by the root which affect how it affects means the distribution, density and activity of soil microorganism. These root exudates and sloughed off material of root surfaces which are provide an abundant source of energy and nutrients, and thus directly or indirectly influence the quality as well as quantity of microorganisms in the rhizosphere region. So, root exudates contain sugars, organic acids, amino acids, sterol, vitamins and other growth factors which have the profound effect on soil microorganisms. So, likewise these factors plays a major role in the distribution and activity of microorganisms in soil. Thank you.